Hey everybody, this is a response video to several misconceptions about socialism, and we're gonna watch this video by Edgy Plus, and she really highlights the ignorance about socialism and actually what socialism is. Okay, I would recommend that you watch the original video first and then watch my response. Socialism has led to the deaths of millions of people, so this is why many people fear it and what it does, because every single quote unquote socialist country there has been, it's resulted in millions of death either by starvation or direct government action of force. Okay, this is actually a really good statistics about millennials having a positive view of socialism. First of all, there's two reasons for this. We have not lived in an area where socialism or it's um, where socialist countries are a dominant force in the world. So this is why young people support socialism in many ways. So like the Soviet Union, China's gone to the point where it's state capitalism, and the communist slash socialist bloc around the world has fallen into disarray. So this is part of the reason why young people support it, and also it's really an intellectual, immature stance because it seems to have all the answers, but never seems to be able to provide this when implemented. And then people claim that it's just, oh, that's not my version of socialism. Well, socialism is simply an economic theory, so all socialism is the same, there's just varying degrees of how socialist a country is. And the more socialist a country is, the worse off it tends to be. Okay, so here's my issue with this definition. It takes two things. There's an economic theory of socialism in which it is the government controlling the means of production, which is simply that if you produce a good or service, then you need to be producing this good or service for the government or some sort of community. So therefore, you will not profit, so you will not receive monetary gain for your work. You simply uh, produce goods for the good of society, and you'll receive the goods necessary to live. This is part of the issue with socialism. It doesn't really incentivizes growth. It really incentivizes abuse of the system. And this is why you're going to need a totalitarian style dictator to control the people to force them to work. And there is a social theory of socialism which is called Marxism, which is a very different, that's the whole entire the romantic notion of the workers controlling. There's actually a reason why the workers at McDonald's don't run McDonald's. It wouldn't work if there was no hierarchy of command. You need workers who are less skilled, who will do manual labor, and then you need higher skilled workers, which become managers, and then so on and so forth. It's a pyramid in which there's only a certain amount of people who can actually run a corporation. It's very difficult. Okay, keep going. First of all, regulation is not socialism, because you can't have socialism and capitalism at the same time. That doesn't work. Capitalism is in which you, the individual, owns the means of production. This is the exact opposite of socialism. So what happens in a capitalist system is we have a currency which we use to buy goods and products. In socialism, you do not. You have markets in capitalism. You do not have markets in socialism. And you do not have private property in socialism. You can have personal property, not private property. Okay, all socialists are fundamentally the same. They believe that we need to collectivize markets. The government should start seizing property. However, they generally disagree on how to get there. There's generally two types. There's the revolutionary socialists, which want revolutionary change, and which say the people rise up, kill the bourgeoisie, take over the means of production. And then there's the democratic socialists, which believe that socialism should be brought democratically. However, this really doesn't work because democratic socialists tend to go towards revolutionary socialism because if you steal property from one person, they tend to not like this. This is why they all end up in revolutionary socialist states. Continue. The rich and powerful control socialist states just as they do in capitalist states. We use the markets to mitigate the consequences of concentration of power. Socialism doesn't have this. This is why they all end up in dictatorships. Cough, cough, Mao, cough, cough, Stalin, so forth. Pol Pot, Fidel Castro, Chavez. America's not socialist. The reason why is we have 5-day work is workers are more efficient. This is what capitalism brings. If something is inefficient, so overworking your workers is inefficient and they will produce less. If you ever look at a labor productivity curve, let's actually talk economics here, is the more you work, the less product you get per worker, and this is inefficient. So this is why we have 5-day, 8-hour work weeks, not because of revolution. Thank you. First of all, none of these are socialist because they never see the means of production. There's a difference. You can have a mixed economy, you can have a capitalist economy. Most free marketers don't advocate for complete elimination of the government. Notice none of these are economists. First of all, they don't really, probably did not truly understand socialism, they just appreciate its idealism. How does a magician have anything to do with economics? Oh, he doesn't even advocate for socialism. Bernie Sanders advocates for social democracy. Okay, so the government can own things without seizing the means of production. It can produce its own things. It can actually produce state-run corporations that compete with private ones. But as long as it doesn't abolish private ones, then it's not socialism. That's either state-run capitalism, which we have in China, or social democracy, as we do in the Norwegian, Scandinavian countries. World War II got us out of the depression. Let's stop lying here. We all know Keynesianism doesn't work. That's why you're advocating for socialism. I don't think it was Wall Street. I believe it was government regulations and insurance. Making everybody poorer. That sounds like a great idea. I really think that government subsidized insurance really advocates for bad behavior part of Wall Street. However, do you ever get rid of the markets? No, this is not socialism. Or you could call it state-sponsored capitalism or social democracy. Oh man, the military is socialist. Do you realize that socialism in its final product advocates for the full-scale abolishment of the government in a workers-controlled utopia? War wouldn't exist. First of all, the military is a fundamental part of say a libertarian idea state because it is the government has the full monopoly on force, with some major exceptions, however, and in which the government uses its power to protect the rights of others, starting with property rights. This is why we have this. This is why the government controls a monopoly of force. We do not want people interfering in our property rights. This is the fundamental part of capitalism. It's actually like 17%. She didn't take in state and local taxes. This is also very wrong, these numbers. I agree, welfare is bad. So is socialism. State-sponsored capitalism. You know, Walmart also supports minimum wages. You know why they do this? Is because minimum wages makes it harder for businesses to hire workers. So essentially, minimum wage makes it so that less people work and they get less hours. And actually, one positive, it does spark innovation to actually get rid of workers. It, if you increase the price of labor, then you're going to increase the price the consumer pays, and you're going to have less minimum wage workers. This is why the minimum wage law is really just a make yourself feel better law. It is no real positive effect on the economy. Oh, it socialism does help the rich very much so, and very screws the poor. Have you ever looked at social inequality in the USSR? And don't just look at financial inequality, but actually look at the average life of the Russian peasant. They're much worse off in Russia than they were in the so-called capitalist pig countries that you're referring to. Okay, guys, socialism is just a ridiculous idea. I don't know why so many people believe in socialism or have positive views of socialism. It clearly doesn't work. And then your only response to this is that, oh, wait, Jeremiah, socialism isn't that bad? Okay, first of all, you gotta prove it's better than capitalism. Capitalism has its flaws. It's very good at solving allocative efficiency issues, but not so great at, helping issues with, say, conditions that you cannot control. So, like uh, diseases that you get that's not your fault, that weren't the result of a negative externality. This is why we have social private institutions. Your churches and your charities could do can do a very good job at providing for this. We as humans are compassionate, and capitalism allows us to accumulate wealth so we can spend that wealth on societal institutions to help those who need it. You do not need a government in order to do this. The government's much less efficient than the market, and this is proven time and time again. So thank you for listening. This is a really terrible video. Thank you guys. Have a good day.